I was appalled that I knew so little about our history, and particularly the enormous contribution of the Chinese. And I thought, you know, if I don't know this, so many other Canadians don't. And this image struck me as a great beginning for a film. And 10 years later, we produced it. And the day that my producing partner was in Beijing to sign the contract with the Chinese government to allow it to be an official treaty co-production, was the very day in 2006 that you referred to, Doug, when the apology was made in the Canadian Parliament, and it was a headline in the Beijing paper that very same day. So it was really good luck, right? I would like to show you as an introduction and to point out what you were saying, Chan Nin, about the big difference between opera and movies. I'd like to start by showing you a 2-minute trailer of the movie itself, and you will see that in action. In order to do that, we'll need to have the lights out briefly, and then I'll talk a little more about it and show you a very short clip as well. So shall we turn out the lights and run this trailer for the movie Iron Road, inspired by Professor Chan's opera. It stars Sam Neill, Peter O'Toole, a guy from London, Ontario called Luke McFarlane who plays Nickel, and a great Chinese actress playing the character that is nicknamed Little Tiger.
Then learn something.
Rock and change in 2 directions. Do you want to end up like your father?
I look for Mr. James. My name is Little Tiger.
We need men, not boys.
Trying to save the day, Mrs. Tiger.
I'm a girl.
You can't stay here.
Mr. James.
You leave now!
You think we can change the world? I think the more likely the world changes us. I really am.
Thank you. You can see that in the movies you can show so much in terms of action. And everything has to be real. You move from the symbolism of the 4 elements and a more complex story. It's essentially inspired by the characters of Iron Road and written by a guy called Barry Pearson and Raymond Story. And It is the story of all immigrants in one way, as Jan, I think, is so well aware of. And the guy who was the chief cinematographer came from Hungary. And when he read our script, he was in tears. He said, "I'm Hungarian, but my parents came here with 50 bucks in their pocket, and this is their story." And it has wider reverberations. I'd like to know how many of you have heard of the film before you came here. And how many of you have actually seen it before? And how many of you saw it on television as a 2-part miniseries? How many saw it in movie house? Yes. Well, Iron Road is very unusual because it's sort of a dream project in some ways, but it took 10 years of my life to produce it. And it is a groundbreaking co-production with mainland China. But it showed in cinemas across Canada prior to its showing as a 4-hour miniseries on CBC. And you know, in the libraries there are 27 copies of the miniseries that circulate, and I know that you can easily get them out. In fact, on the announcement of this event, there was a way to put a hold on them. And what the libraries have is the 2-part miniseries, 2-disc DVDs. But I would like to show you now just a little taste of an intro to this film where you'll see me talking about it, Barry Pearson talking about the mystique of railroads, and a nice, very sensitive introduction from Sun Li, the great Chinese star. Have we worked it so that we don't have that color bar? Let's see what happens. We'll see. This just runs 1 minute, and oh, we have someone on the light. But not the bleeping sound, so that's great.
I will drive a railroad through there if it kills me and every last man under me.
I need good men to build the railroad. I will pay you $1 for every day you work.
There has been nothing for Chinese to see of their heritage and their ancestors. Their story has never hit the screen.
There's a kind of mystique about railways that I think there isn't about a lot of other modes of transportation.
借以此偏向中国人道歉，道歉那段时间的历史，那时候的加拿大人对中国人的一些不友好。但是我觉得现在是和平社会，都已经是过去了。很高兴大家能够正视这些历史，正视这一切，也让现在中国人知道，其实在很久的北美，很多了不起的建筑都有中国人的足迹。
So you can see a very brief introduction there by this extraordinary woman who, the actress. We had an extraordinary opera singer today. We're very lucky, aren't we, Chan Nin, that we have people of that caliber to play this character. And I can tell you a great deal about how this movie was done, but I really want the film to speak for itself, and we will be screening it starting at 3. But I guess I should tell you just a little about how I put it together. Would you like to ask me some questions about the making of it? First of all, it's ironic that a Guilo, like the fourth generation Irish woman, should be making this film. But it touched my heart and my head, and I felt that it was a story that had to be told. What is your question?
So I'm really looking forward to seeing it putting on hold from the library, and I have to tell you, I love Margaret's Museum. I was wondering, based on the things that Doug told us beforehand, I think that it's very compelling that there's this relationship between Little Tiger and Nickel. How realistic would that have been at this time? What were the chances of something like that?
Well, it's a very good question, and the relationship between them is a little different from the opera. We lowered the ages of these two, but it's a fictional love story. And I felt that that was the way to tell, to expose the cultural clash, the inequities of gender and of race, that people connect with that if you tell it through a love story. And everything behind the fictional love story is highly researched. We were lucky enough to have a lot of the research that the designer of the opera had done. And so we were very careful that they be accurate. The shoes be accurate, the hats, the working conditions. You know, they lived in 5-man tents. And there are photographs of the workers lying on a single, I guess you call it a bed, it's like a pallet, but there are 5 of them together, just like sardines, and you'll see that in our movie, where we try to get the audience to experience what those conditions were that Doug was talking about. And, you know, so many of them came in cloth slippers, unaware of the rocks and the winters and the freezing cold. And they changed changed clothes pretty soon because what they were arriving in was so unsuitable. In relation to would a Chinese woman possibly fall for Canadian rich white guilo? They do it all the time, frankly.
Now, but I'm thinking, like, would there have been a woman who would have come and hidden?
Sorry, Ken.
Would there have been a woman who would have come at that time and hidden her
Well, there are instances of women who did hide their gender during the American Civil War, for instance. There are others. I don't actually know of a historical Little Tiger, but you told me, Kenny,
You talked about
spent
Professor
this